Hi, y'all. What's good? It's your favorite neighborhood ninja, DjSpinja here. Sorry, guys. I work 11-hour days. I'm trying to squeeze in content. I'm just coming home. You're going to see me do a lot of movement. But shit has hit the fan, literally and figuratively. Yeah, UK, Britain. So UK is Britain, sorry. UK, Germany, US, and France basically just gave Ukraine the green light to go do what they do. And, you know, it's going to be a bad time for Russia. Bad time for Russia. It'll be a good time for everybody else. Bad time for Russia. But you'll see. We're getting this
Ukraine
from...
now has the...
Shit. Again. Hold on. So basically this is coming to you from the military show. And I'm just going to let the man speak right quick.
Ukraine now has the green light to strike inside Russia.
Oh, shit.
Occupied Ukrainian territory inside actual Russian territory. For Putin, this changes everything. On May 26th, Germany's new chancellor stood in front of the cameras and said it.
Now, somebody found a loophole, which I thought was awesome. I think it might have been Habitual Line Crosser. I don't know exactly who came out with it first. But, or it might have been UK that came out with it. But anyways, if we're going to go play by Russia's rules, well, then all of Ukraine is Russia anyway, so it don't matter. So you're not really firing inside Russia if Ukraine, you know, you're not really breaching the ceasefire, because if Ukraine is all Russia's, then you've been fighting in Russia the entire time, and so be it. And these guys basically just picked up what motherfuckers are putting down, and you'll see.
Plainly, there are no longer any range restrictions. The US, UK, France, and Germany are done holding back. That
Done
means
holding
Russia's
back.
Air bases, weapons depots,
Green
and
light,
command centers,
fuckers.
once considered untouchable, are now
Very
vacant.
touchable.
The Kremlin is panicking. So what weapons can Ukraine now
Putin is
unleash on
panicking.
Russian soil? And how could this escalate the war or finally tip it?
I wonder how many times Putin's going to threaten nukes in the next fucking month. Don't matter. Everybody's threatening nukes right now. You got freaking India and Pakistan threatening nukes. You got this shit going on. You got shit going on in South Africa. I mean, the whole world is popping off, y'all.
Let's break it down. This means that Ukraine can now defend itself, for example, by attacking military positions in Russia, with very few exceptions. It didn't do that until recently. It can now do that.
Yeah.
It may come as a surprise to those who remember that the UK and US allowed Ukraine to use their long-range missiles to strike Russian targets back in November of last year. The former allowed Ukraine to use Storm Shadow, with the latter permitting Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles to attack Russia.
Hey, ATACMS!
Lies in the specific kinds of targets Ukraine was allowed to hit back in November. Yes, it could hit Russian positions with its Western missiles. However, those Russian positions either had to be inside occupied Ukrainian territory or, at best, in the border regions where Putin was preparing attacks against
Not
Ukraine.
anymore.
That meant Ukraine couldn't, for example, use a Storm Shadow to attack a military base deeper inside Russia that provided no immediate threat to Ukraine, but can. And Putin is terrified. We know that much from the Kremlin's response to the news. Rather than attempting to shrug it off, Russia has come out to say that the decision made by Ukraine's Western allies is both dangerous and detrimental to any efforts those allies are attempting to make to help Ukraine and Russia reach a peace agreement. Putin's...
Okay, we have tried to get these two to maintain a peace agreement, but guess what? Your orange man was right. I don't think Putin wants to take just Crimea. He wants all of Ukraine. And every time they try to get a peace talk, it wasn't really a peace talk. It was basically Russia either asking them to surrender completely or saying, yeah, I'll stop, but you got to give me freaking Crimea. Crimea River. Crimea River. It's not going to happen. Sorry, Nuxanor, I stole that from you, but that shit is dope, and you really nailed it when you were like, Crimea River. Now, I don't know if you were the one to start it, but I'm giving you the credit on that shit. Yeah. Ooh, shit about to get thick, y'all.
Mouthpiece Dmitry Peskov outlined Russia's response. If these decisions have indeed been made, Peskov said, they are completely at odds with our aspirations for a political settlement.
The only political settlement you're going to get is Russia in flames. Sorry, y'all. Their equipment is garbage. Their freaking all their air force is garbage. All their missile defense is garbage. Their soldiers aren't even trained. The conscription level or conscription age. Sorry. Which means the age you have to be conscripted is basically saying you got to go into the army and that's it. It's almost like a draft, but like forceful as fuck. So that keeps going up. South Korea jumped in. They're losing people left and right. So it's just like, how many more people are going to die? Or are we just going to let's just show them what the fuck war is really about, and then we'll see how quick fucking Russia stops when you got F-35s and F-22s and shit. You might even get the new 6th gen, the F-47. F-47, just like my presidency. But anyways, they should have made the damn plane orange. That shit would have been fucking hilarious.
That's a veiled twofold warning from the Kremlin. Russia appears to be threatening to pull out of peace talks, using Ukraine's new ability to use Western-made long-range missiles as leverage. Worse yet, Peskov is implying that Russia may be forced to escalate the Ukraine war further as a response. We'll discuss what that may mean.
He's been escalating!
In truth, the West's decision shouldn't come as a surprise. It comes on the back of Russia launching its largest series of drone strikes against Ukraine yet. Also on May 26th, The Guardian reported that
yeah, so they're still attacking them, but
Russia had engaged in 3 consecutive nights of drone strikes against Ukraine, killing at least 6 people in the process.
See, fuck
the
that.
The 26th offered up the worst of it, with Russia sending a record-breaking 355 of its Iran-supplied Shahed drones to Ukraine, along with 9 of its
355 Iran-supplied drones? That's interesting as hell. Being that we're fighting the fucking Houthis in Iran and basically telling Iran, if you don't stop this shit, we're going to fuck y'all up too.
Cruise missiles. Ukraine's Air Force spokesperson Yuri
World War III is on the cusp, y'all.
Nat.
Really?
Confirmed the attack was the largest drone strike Russia had launched against Ukraine since Putin started his full-scale invasion in February 2022. The response to Russia's escalation was immediate, with US President Donald Trump lambasting Putin for his decision. Something has happened to him. He's gone absolutely crazy, Trump blared on his Truth Social. I've always said he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. And maybe that's proving to be right. But if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia. What?
How many times has the orange man said some shit and everybody was like, oh, and then it turned out he was right? The tariffs, I mean, oh God, don't even get me started. I can glaze freaking Trump all damn day, man. Look, him not getting killed, him looking for that piece of paper, that was divine intervention, y'all. There's a lot of evil in this world, and this man is trying to take that shit out. You see the P. Diddy trial? And all the fucking madness coming out from that? Yeah. There's some evil in our world, and this man's been trying to fight it. He was trying to fight that shit from the first presidency, but you seen what the hell happened to him. And you seen how everybody, every time he tried to do something, they just shot it down. Trump could have been like, air is good, breathe air. And everybody would have been like, so whatever, man. It's just anti-orange, man. Hilarious.
That post may be encouraging to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky from the perspective of Ukraine receiving more US support. Trump didn't leave Zelensky out of his response.
Of course.
Saying Ukraine's leader is doing his country no favours by talking the way he does. Everything out of his mouth causes problems. I don't like it, and it better stop. The Kremlin...
Exactly. And it better stop. You want our help? Stop talking shit. Funny, because every time I do the India thing, I keep saying, stop talking shit, and maybe people will help you. But all they keep doing is talking shit. You see how the shit talkers are now getting fucked? It doesn't even matter if we're helping them. They're still getting fucked. You think if Ukraine wins this thing, Zelensky's going to be the man? Nah, we're going to replace his ass.
And subtly mocked Trump for his statements. It claimed that Trump's words were the result of an emotional overload.
And that's, everybody says, oh, the emotional overload. You seen the whole South African president, and everybody tried to say that was fake, and he was just being emotional when he pulled out receipts left and right. And even the next day, they went after the damn press secretary and tried to fucking do the same shit to her, and she owned him. Caroline Leavitt is the bomb. I'm telling you, that we needed her instead of that Wanda-looking Jean-Pierre bitch that looked like Wanda from freaking In Living Color. Fucking, that bitch didn't know shit from Shine, man. And let somebody ask a stupid question, Caroline Leavitt will shut that shit down. You know she won I don't know if it's million or billion, but I think it's like 5 to 8 lawsuit against The View for them talking shit. And she came to the damn courtroom with receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt. And you see what's been happening to The View lately. You don't fuck with this administration, you see what's going to happen. It's happening all over the place.
Trying to manipulate Trump to his agenda. France's President Emmanuel Macron took a different approach, noting that he believes Trump now realizes that Putin is playing him and that the anger Trump is expressing on social media translates into action. That appears to be...
No. See, the whole thing was he was trying. See, this is the whole Russian hoax shit. Look, if Putin and fucking Trump were like this, or how they say, like, oh, he's just bowing down to Putin, if that was true, why would we be helping Ukraine? Wouldn't we be helping Russia? Wouldn't we be giving them weaponry or fucking money? No, we're giving money to Ukraine. We were giving weapons to Ukraine. So I don't understand how everybody still says this man's on Putin's dick when it's the other way around. Everybody want to be on Trump dick, and there ain't enough room.
Precisely what happened. The US, along with 3 other countries, has lifted restrictions on how Ukraine uses the long-range missiles provided to it by the West. Is that an escalation? Perhaps. But Russia showed on Monday that it's already escalating it.
Look, it's not escalation if the other place is already escalating. I use the same analogy with the Pakistan-India shit. India kept saying, this is a non-escalatory attack, and then attacked again, and said it was a non-escalatory attack, and then attacked again. I'm sorry, but if you're attacking 3 times, that's 2 escalations, isn't it? I don't know. My math is fucked up, and this new guerrilla math got everybody fucked up, but...
Aerial strikes, making the decision by the 4 nations as much as a
I
response to
digress.
Putin's aggression as anything else. After all, Putin is being a hypocrite. He's claiming that Ukraine attacking Russia on its own territory will slow down peace talks out of one side of his mouth.
Yeah, but how is he saying it's going to slow down peace talks when everybody came to the table to talk peace except for Putin?
While remaining silent over Russia's constant attacks on Ukraine out of the other side. Coming back to Germany and Merz's comments, the German Chancellor offered a justification for his country's decision. He says that Ukraine can only be placed in a position to properly defend itself if the country's allies finally stop holding it back.
Thank you.
In the jargon, long-range fire, which is to say to equip Ukraine with weapons with which it can strike at military goals beyond its...
And I don't know why Ukraine is going by Geneva Convention rules when they're not even in NATO, so... I mean, I guess the Geneva Convention, or the Geneva, whatever, war crime list, or some shit like that, but I'm kind of ignorant to all that, so I'm just going to shut up right now, fuck it.
Orders, Merz said. Germany's Chancellor also pointed out that Ukraine will use its missiles far differently from Russia. He says the decisive difference between the military leadership of the aggressor, Russia, and Ukraine, whilst the latter has military goals in its sights, Russia is targeting civilians. Therein lies the real reason why the West is finally lifting its restrictions on Ukraine. Too many Ukrainian civilians are being killed by a Russian leader who
should have been lifted the restrictions 2 years ago.
Pretends that he wants peace. With these missiles, Ukraine can finally start attacking the facilities Russia uses to build and store these weapons that Putin is using.
And they video everything. I can't wait to see the videos on that shit.
To kill the country's people. As for Putin's talk about this escalation slowing the wheels of peace, Merz simply had this to say. After the last 3 weeks...
Putin can't talk nothing about peace when he's the one doing attacks. I swear to God, it's like we've let bullies get away with bullying for so fucking long that it seems normal. But the fucking bully is sitting there saying we want peace while they're attacking people. You, fucking Russia, India. How are you going to get peace when you keep attacking? The only way you can have peace is to stop fighting. I don't know, maybe that's me. I might be a little fucked up.
No one can seriously accuse us of not having exhausted all available diplomatic means. If even an offer to meet at the Vatican does not get Putin's approval, then we must be prepared for this war to last longer than we all wish or can imagine, Merz said.
That made the most sense out of everything. Okay, that makes a little more sense why he's got dragged out and dragged out. We tried everything. Everything failed. Now it's time for brute force.
In other words, the West now knows for sure that Putin was simply delaying peace talks so he could continue his assaults against Ukraine. Now Russia's leader is about to find out what that gets him. Ukraine isn't about to raise the one.
Fuck around and find out. It's the mantra of 2025. Fuck around and find out. Everybody's finding out. P. Diddy finding out.
Instead, it's now in a position where it can hit Russia where it really hurts. The question is simple. What weapons does Ukraine have from the West that it can use to strike Russian targets?
Oh, a lot.
The answer, at least from Germany, still isn't clear. Despite all of his exclamations, Merz still wouldn't be drawn on whether Germany would be providing any of its powerful Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Little see.
You want to know what weapons Ukraine got? Go watch Habitual Line Crosser. He knows all that shit.
To have changed for Germany in that regard. Its former Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, flat out refused to provide Taurus to Ukraine, believing that doing so would escalate the war. Merz claimed that he would deliver those missiles if he came to office. However,
the war been escalated.
Merz has been a little more cautious with his rhetoric since becoming Germany's Chancellor. He has his reasons, he claims. Merz notes that Putin speaks German fluently, so any messages that Merz delivers publicly need to be carefully considered so they don't give too much away to Russia's leader. In other words, Merz doesn't want Putin and his cronies to figure out what Ukraine is capable of doing simply by watching a TV interview.
This summer
that makes sense.
Reading between the lines, these statements tell us that Germany is likely on the verge of delivering Taurus to Ukraine. It just isn't ready to tell anybody. So if Taurus is coming to Ukraine, what does that missile deliver now that Ukraine has no usage restrictions?
But you're telling everybody.
The launched cruise missile, Taurus was conceived in the 1990s and entered service in 2005. Since then, there have been multiple variations of the missile, including the Taurus KEPD-350, which is the original, a shorter range.
And that's the beauty of it all. Everybody is sending old shit that nobody uses anymore to Ukraine. So it's either going to get decommissioned or give it to Ukraine and have them launch it at Russians. And, oh my God, the old crap that we've been giving Ukraine for them to freaking attack Russia with has been doing so well. Like, they can't even handle our technology that's 20 years behind. And y'all gonna try to go up against Ukraine, Germany, France, Britain, and USA? Putin, get ready for the Diddy party. No baby oil.
Taurus KEPD-150, and even versions that have been configured for use by other militaries. It's likely to be the Taurus KEPD-350 that Ukraine will receive.
Damn, that thing is huge!
That missile is terrifying to Putin. Germany's cruise missile has a sleek and streamlined design. It's intended to make it difficult to spot by enemy radars, while also improving the weapon's aerodynamic efficiency. It measures 16.7 feet long and weighs a little over 3,200 pounds.
God damn!
A substantial payload that's capable of devastating the protected structures Russia uses to guard its missile stockpiles. Taurus comes packed with Germany's Mephisto penetrator warhead, which is a two-stage tandem warhead.
Warhead is named Mephisto? God damn.
Its way into protected structures. The idea is simple. Mephisto's first stage, also known as its pre-charge, creates a breach in a target's defences, including armour and solid concrete. That breach offers a gap large enough for the second stage, which comprises a high-energy explosive charge.
Damn.
The target itself. Once there, the second stage detonates from the inside of the target, ensuring maximum damage. In practice, this makes Taurus similar to the Javelin missiles Ukraine has used so effectively to take out Russia's tanks. However, Mephisto is far more special than Army Recognition says the warhead has both void sensing and layer counting technology.
Thing looks
What that
ridiculous.
means is that Mephisto can figure out whether it's reached the appropriate point for a detonation.
It's a fucking
Let's
missile.
assume that Ukraine uses a Taurus to strike a 3-story weapons storage facility. The weapons themselves are on the bottom floor, with the top 2 floors being administrative area. With its layer counting tech, Mephisto knows how to break through the top 2 floors of the structure to reach the weapons on the bottom floor before it detonates.
Damn.
Putin can't hide Ukraine's most desired targets away. He can bury them, he can hide them in multi-story buildings. None of it will matter, because Mephisto is smart enough to make its way through any barriers Russia attempts to create, so it can destroy its target. Of course, this sheer destructive...
Mephisto. I was just talking about the Diddy party. You about to get Mephisto'd in the ass.
This would be much if the Taurus missile was incapable of striking targets at long range and at speed.
Hey, Odie.
Taurus has both these issues covered. The missile is capable of moving at just shy of the speed of sound.
Damn.
With a maximum speed of Mach 0.9. While that's not quite fast enough to completely outpace Russia's air defense systems, it will likely do the job if Ukraine combines its Taurus strikes with decoy drones sent to confuse those defenses. On the range front, Taurus can travel up to 310 miles before touching down on its target. That means that it has one of the longest ranges of any Western-supplied missiles Ukraine has, which naturally opens up more opportunities for attacks. Russia can't even rely on jamming technology to send the Taurus off course. Germany's missile combines GPS and an inertial navigation system, or INS, to find its way during its mid-course trajectory.
Damn.
Its main reference navigation system also allows Taurus to plot a course to its target in which it won't confront air defense systems. Plus, as the missile enters its terminal guidance phase, an infrared seeker activates that ensures it can identify and engage its target while fending off any Russian attempts to jam the missile's GPS. All told, Taurus is a powerful missile that rightly has Putin running scared. But even if Germany doesn't hand that missile over just yet, Russia's military installations aren't safe. The lifting of restrictions by the US, UK and France means that Russia now also has to deal with ATACMS and Storm Shadow. ATACMS, which is made by the US, is a short-range tactical ballistic missile, though that still means it has a solid range in the context of how Ukraine wants to use it. It measures 13 feet long, making it larger than the Taurus, and can weigh up to 3,700 pounds.
Damn!
It's fast, too, capable of hitting speeds of Mach 3, which means
Mach
it can avoid
3?
many of Russia's air defense systems. Guided by a combination of GPS and INS, the missile has a top range of 186 miles.
Damn!
It can't travel as far as Germany's Taurus, but it packs an even more explosive punch against its target. Storm Shadow, or Scout to give the missile its French name, is just as dangerous. The export version of the missile has a maximum range of 155 miles, though it's possible that Ukraine has received the domestic version of the missile that are capable of reaching twice that distance. The missile comes packed with a 992-pound Broach warhead, which stands for Bomb Royal Ordnance Augmented Charge. Like Mephisto, this warhead uses a 2-stage approach. The first penetrated target's outer layer before sending explosive destruction into the target itself. Storm Shadow can travel at speeds of up to Mach 0.95, depending on its altitude, and again, like the Taurus, it's a cruise missile fired from a fighter jet. Assuming Ukraine...
You're about to get Mephisted in the ass by a Storm Shadow.
receives the Taurus, it's going to get a trio of missiles...
I'll be here all night. Tip your waitress.
Here's what that means for the Ukraine war. First, more targets are now open to Ukraine than ever before. Merz made that clear with his announcement, adding that lifting restrictions on these missiles will make the decisive difference in Ukraine's war. Why? Merz explained that too, saying, "A country that can only oppose an attacker on its own territory is not defending itself adequately. The implication here is that Ukraine can defend itself far better if it can hit Russian targets inside Russia itself.
Yeah.
This ability opens up opportunities for Ukraine to take out Russian ammunition depots, logistical centers, and even entire military bases, which in turn relieves pressure on the areas of Ukraine Putin is currently taking." Back in August 2024, the Institute for the Study of War, or ISW, highlighted just how many targets are now in Ukraine's crosshairs. Back then, the ISW said that Ukraine's ATACMS gave it the ability to hit at least 245 Russian targets, including 16 air bases. That is massive. Russia uses its air bases to launch devastating glide bombs at Ukraine's cities and infrastructure. Having the ability to take those bases out of commission would be huge for Ukraine. We also can't ignore the fact that Taurus, assuming it's coming to Ukraine, offers over 100 miles more range than ATACMS. We don't know for certain how many more Russian bases and military structures that larger range opens up as targets, But the takeaway here is that several hundred of Putin's most valuable military assets now face a massive threat. The lifting of long-range missile restrictions also means that Ukraine can finally hit Russia hard in response to the many attacks Putin has ordered against Ukraine's cities. Merz suggested himself when noting the difference between Ukraine and Russia's strategies. Germany's chancellor said that Russia ruthlessly attacks civilian targets, bombing cities, kindergartens, hospitals, and elderly care homes. Ukraine does not do this, and we attach great importance to keeping it that way. Merz isn't wrong. The massive drone strike we mentioned earlier in Kyiv is just the tip of the iceberg of Putin's brutal civilian targeting strategy. Russia's attempts to create terror inside Ukraine have so far led to its missiles, drones, and glide bombs, killing at least 13,134 civilians.
Get the ball.
February 24th, 2022.
Good girl.
And April 30th, 2025. Of those more than 13,000 dead, 701 are children. Russia's terrible attacks have also injured 31,867 people, including 2,000.
Give me the ball.
Therein lies the secondary goal of permitting Ukraine to attack Russian targets inside Russia with Western long-range missiles. Yet those attacks on Russia's bases and ammunition stockpiles will relieve pressure on Ukraine's frontline forces. However, they'll also minimize Putin's ability to target people who aren't even involved in the fighting. The missiles aren't a cure-all for Putin's civilian targeting approach. However, they're powerful enough to make it much harder for Russia's leader to terrorize Ukrainian civilians as often as he has. There's only one thing that Ukraine and the West have to worry about: potential Russian escalation. Peskov has already indicated that the combined decision by Germany, the US, the UK and France is a major blow to peace talks. In truth, none will take that threat seriously. Putin has done everything in his power to avoid creating a ceasefire agreement or any form of peace treaty that doesn't...
Yeah. I'm going to let this man talk. I'm going to refill my coffee right quick.
...call for the total eradication of Ukraine as a sovereign entity. Despite the best efforts of the US and Ukraine, peace doesn't seem any more likely an option now than it was before Trump became the US president. More worrying, at least for the West, is that the decision to lift restrictions means Russia may start accusing the four countries involved of indirect participation in the Ukraine war. Moscow hinted at that likelihood when it warned that Germany allowing Ukraine to use Taurus to strike Russia's transport infrastructure could amount to this direct participation. Given these...
And what is Russia gonna do about it? Nothing. The entire world is fed up with your shit, and they're coming together to end it. So you crying about, and I'm talking about Putin here, you crying about, oh, this isn't right. Well, guess what? It wasn't right for you to go after motherfucking Ukraine.
Statements, we have to consider something important: Russia's nuclear doctrine. When the US first permitted Ukraine to use ATACMS to strike Russian targets in occupied Ukrainian territory, Putin responded by signing into law a new Russian nuclear doctrine. Among the tweaks Russia made was the inclusion of language suggesting that Russia could now respond with nuclear weapons to the launch of ballistic missiles attacking the territory of the Russian Federation and or its allies.
Yeah. And with the way we see how all your other military equipment works, I seriously doubt that your nuclear warheads from like the 70s are even active.
Is a ballistic missile. Russia also claims that it can now target a country that uses conventional weapons that threaten its sovereignty, which covers Storm Shadow and the Taurus. But most worrying of all, Russia's new nuclear...
Aren't you threatening Ukraine's sovereignty? So who really gives a fuck about yours?
Doctrine says that it can use nuclear weapons both against the country attacking it and any country providing its opponents with the means to hit Russia's territory. Translate.
Okay, so in order to avoid all that, let's glass Russia. Let's just turn the place to glass. Fuck them.
Russia's doctrine says it can escalate to nuclear warfare against Ukraine and its allies if missiles like Taurus and ATACMS are used on Russian territory.
It's the last thing you want to do, Putin.
This could happen, and actually following through on it are two very...
Fucking retard. This special military operation. Yeah, special. Special. Yellow bus special.
Different things. Putin knows that the US, UK and France all have nuclear arsenals with which they would respond to any Russian nuclear strike.
Duh.
So it's the threat of escalation that's more concerning. The signing of this new nuclear doctrine was intended to intimidate Ukraine's allies into backing away from allowing Putin's enemy to use their missiles on its territory.
Not work.
That threat worked for a few months.
Not working.
Now Germany, the US, the UK and France have decided the benefits of permitting Ukraine to hit Russia with long-range missiles far outweigh the risks.
Thank you.
This decision may change the entire direction of the war. But what do you think about the lifting of restrictions on Ukraine's usage of long-range missiles?
Alright, y'all, so that's that. Shit about to get real fast. So, and my coffee rate. So, peace, chicken grease, sop it up with a biscuit, kiss it up to the deity you love most. Mine is now Abraxas because I've done some research. And yeah, we'll leave that for another day because one of these days I will go after the Catholic Church. Me and the Catholic Church got some beef. And when shit starts dying down in the world, oh, I'm coming after you there, Roman Catholic. I'm coming for you. Shit. Alright, y'all. Hashtag DjSpinja if you want to help me grow the channel. Like, subscribe, throw a thumbs up, make a comment. All that shit helps the algorithm do algorithm things. If you want to bless my puppy with a toy or a treat or anything, same thing, hashtag DjSpinja. Just say what you want me to get with the money and I will get it. And we will do a video of Odie receiving it. I put Odie on camera right now, but she is eating and I do not. She eats like me, like once a damn day. So I'm going to let her eat. Peace, y'all. Be safe.